Greetings, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We have got a special guest. We've got Adam Stout. He is a director for platform products, and he will be presenting on how to streamline the upgrade process.
All right, let's get started. I got a lot of stuff to talk about today. As a safe harbor notice, when I talk, I generally talk about stuff that's going to come out. So please make sure you're only making your purchasing decisions based off of what is released. And we may drop in a little bit of what's to come in future releases, but make sure that we're making purchasing decisions based off of what is out now. If I'm talking about the future, I will attempt to call that out. Welcome to the Fundamentals Academy, Platform Fundamentals Academy. You heard from John Lind, who's our host, and he will be helping me with the Q&A as we go through. And again, my name is Adam Stout, and we're both in the outbound product management team for Platform. So today we're going to be talking about simplifying store upgrades with a batch installer, with the batch installer. And the goal here is not about how we do it technically. We will answer some more of those questions. We'll walk through how we can do this today and make it better today. But we want to talk about different approaches on how to make this easy for you, uh, today, how you can improve your planning process as we're going to Xanadu, as we're going to Yokohama and Zurich in the future. And we're using the store updates in between there. How do we make it easy and reduce some of the anxiety about what we're seeing and the upgrade process in general? And then we're going to talk about what you can do with the batch installer, which is available today. And I do want to get your feedback in chat, and maybe we can talk later as well about how we can make this process better. We'll focus on making what you can do today, but we want to make it better tomorrow. And so we really want to get your feedback on that. So today we'll be talking about how do you plan store updates? How does the store fit into my update and upgrade process? A lot of us have been around for long enough that we're used to 2 upgrades a year, and there's 2 upgrades a year, 1 and 2. The store has given us more tools for that, and we're going to talk through that. Next, after that, we're going to do a demo of a small app that I built on top of my existing instance. And this app, uh, I built it in Washington, and I've used it in Zurich, or sorry, used it in Xanadu. It should work beyond in the past as well. I think actually anything from Orlando, we should be able to do it. But we're going to walk through a small app, and then we'll do the demo, and then we're going to do a walkthrough of how I built it, and it's something you can do as well. Again, the technical code, there's a little bit more in there, kind of an example of what you have. We will either get out into the community or into Git, so that you can see kind of some of the things that we did. It was a pretty rough cut, but effective. And so we'll discuss that on how can you do this? How can you put in more automation into your update process? And then we have some resources to go through, and then we will get into Q&A. So our team's objectives, and we deal with upgrades, it's to reduce the cost to upgrade. I want you to upgrade really frequently. I want you to stand the latest and greatest. You get all the new features. You stay as secure as possible. Just everything we can do. We spend a lot of money to develop new things and make it better for you. And I want you to get them. It doesn't do us a lot of good, any of us good, if we develop all this great functionality and you don't get it, or it takes a year to get it or longer. So we want to make sure that you're upgrading. The barrier to upgrade is that it costs something, costs time, it costs resources, some stress sometimes. So we're focusing in as a development team on how do we reduce the cost to upgrade. And when I look at that, I'm talking about the time to upgrade, the resources needed to upgrade, and then if there's any downtime. In this session today, we're going to be talking about the time to upgrade and the resources. How do we minimize the amount of time it takes, and the resources that you need uh, to do that? Okay, so now we're going to talk about how do I plan a store update. The store has lots and lots of updates. How do I know what I want, what I don't want? So the first place that I start is with the upgrade kit. If you can put it in the chat, how many people are familiar with the upgrade kit? As it goes through, I will start through that the upgrade kit comes out generally the day of general availability. So right now, Washington is out, Xanadu is not out, but you can see this for Washington and Vancouver. I saw this for Washington. I think it's 270 slides, or somewhere around there. For It goes through every major feature that comes through. The reason I start with this in the first slide, Generally, you've seen, look at the release notes. I don't look at the release notes. I look at the upgrade kit. The upgrade kit is actually a PDF that you can get to for Washington and Vancouver with this link. Xanadu, again, should be out in a few weeks, but it'll come out with GA. It walks through all the major platform features. It walks through all of the different BUs features that have come through. Take a look at that. If you're on this call, this is relevant to you. There's the PDF version. There's also a PowerPoint version you can get. So I want you to use this for your users where you can take the 270 slides, look at everything, cut it down to the 15 that are really impactful for your organization, and you can talk about here are the new features that are coming through. Again, I recommend, even if you don't have customer workflows, you don't have customer service management, look at those slides. It's amazing to see what's coming out in every release. And whether it is the store release or it is the family release, you're seeing all the new functionality. It might give you some ideas of the art of the possible. And if you're looking at platform or creator and the applications you have, you definitely want to see those new features, because some of them you have to go get a new store app. It's not just about upgrading, but it's about adding new things. So take a look at this, at the upgrade kit. Once you see something interesting, you'll see a slide with a few bullets on it. Then you can go look at the release notes. Then you can go find an academy where we talk about it. But this is the entry point on how to decide what you want to upgrade and to decide what new features do you want to install and to activate. Okay. So upgrade timeline. So just as a reminder for everything in upgrades, we do 2 family releases a year, which are come out in March and September. We do patches each quarter, and then you have the hot fix patch in between then. So there are new versions of your family release every quarter. Every month that come through, but they're generally security patch with your major releases to come through. So that's what's going through. What I want to focus in now is more on the store releases that come for this, and how we true up. The term we use is true up or repackage. So this is a general framework on how we look at things. Doesn't happen all the time, and some of those security releases will come in as well. But a really important thing to think about. I just upgraded one of my instances to Xanadu and had 197 store updates. 197 to look through. If you see that, I want this slide to help ease the fears about that and the anxiety about how I have to go through all of those. Each of the releases that come through in the store get merged in to the family release later on. So in this general release time frame, if we're looking at this year in 2024, we had a store release in February, we had a store release in May, and then we have a store release in August, and we'll have another one in November. The store releases in February and in May are not in the March release. The March release was Washington, but February and May get merged into the September release in Xanadu. I hope I get all my releases right as I'm talking through this example. So if I didn't take any store release updates in February, if I didn't take any store release updates in May, I will get the vast majority of those in September without doing anything. Without doing anything, I'm going to get those in September. They will upgrade in what comes through. There's an example in the documentation that walks you through how the patches work, because a store release actually might have multiple versions out available in the store, where you might have version 1, 2, and 3. It will come, you'll get what you need to have in the family release, again, with just very few exceptions where you do have to go update them manually. When you look at these, what I get in February and May is the option to upgrade early, the option to update my app early. So if I want it, I can get it when it comes out in February. I can get it when it comes out in May. But if I don't know about it and I'm not worried about it, it's not super critical functionality to me, I'm just going to wait till the family release and get everything then. And again, this goes through all the time. You see all these arrows that come through. So when I upgraded in March, I was getting the November and August release. What comes out, what just came out in the store in August, what comes out in November, I will get those in February, in March with the Yokohama release. So it's important to understand we get everything in here. You don't have to update. We'll drag you along with us. So when you get to that family release in September, when you go to family release in Xanadu, we will make sure that you're upgraded to the latest version, to the lowest supported version. We're not going to force you up as much as we can, but if you need something for Xanadu that you have a release, an older release that's not compatible, it will upgrade that patch release to bring you to the right level. It'll take what version you're at and bring you just as far as you need to go to get to in September. You have the option of going up early, but we'll drag you up so that it doesn't break. You don't have to be afraid that an app will break because you go to Xanadu. We'll bring you along in those things. There's no apps you have to upgrade. Once you upgrade to Xanadu, there's no store apps you have to update, generally. All right, John, are there any questions about this that we need to tackle?
No, I think a lot of the questions are about to be answered when you show the demo. So,
Okay. So the whole point of this as we go through is that again, you don't have to update anything. Now we're going to spend the rest of the conversation about, well, how do I update when I do want to update? As we go through, this was the release that was coming, or that was my slide from Washington to come through. That do remember that from family releases that are released twice a year. Generally, we support N-2. You can talk to your account team on what your entitlement is. Some customers are N-1, some are N-2, and then there might be some old legacy ones to come through. So generally, as we're looking at this, when we release Xanadu in September, the Tokyo release will no longer be supported. If you have that's very much in generalities. If you have any questions, please talk to your account team. All right. Now, one of the key things that I want to talk about, what do you need to update? I don't want you to take a list. I had 197 updates. I thought I had a screenshot in here, but I forgot. 197. Don't look at a list of updates. 197 is a lot. There's thousands of plugins. There's thousands and thousands of plugins. I want you to focus in on what's important. So how do I know what's important? Well, one, I'm going to go look at the update kit that tells me about the new features that are out there, and I can decide I want that, and then I'll go look in the docs on how do I get that, right? Install the store app. It comes with, once you upgrade to Xanadu, you get it. The docs will tell you what that means. And oftentimes the upgrade kit itself will tell you. The next step I have down after that is I go look at my blueprints. So in the admin center, there are the application blueprints. And the blueprints tell me if I want to achieve this goal, here's what you need. Here are the applications you probably want, and then walk you through the installation. Along with that installation, it's telling you, hey, there's an update available for this. So I'm looking at a blueprint for my goal, my outcome of reducing incidents and keeping services flowing with AI-based automation. And when I look at this, if you look at the bottom, it's saying, hey, if you want to do this, you want Event Management Core, you are subscribed to this, you're entitled to this, and you haven't installed it. So I want to go install that. Service operations workspace, I have installed. I'm entitled to it. I haven't installed it, but there's a new update. Oh, well, I'll go grab that update. Great. It's guiding me through what am I trying to achieve and what applications I want to have with that. When I drill into this, it's going to tell me more about what does this do, how do I implement it, and all this stuff. A lot of great information. If you haven't looked at blueprints, go look at blueprints. If you have impact and you have a squad, ask them, right? They'll help you through this as well. But this is available to all customers. Blueprints
and,
are
and
available in all your instances.
and Adam, how do you navigate to the blueprints specifically? Do you get there differently than you would for plugins or other applications?
We'll pull that up in the demo. It's a great question,
Okay,
but it's under the
cool.
admin menu.
Gotcha.
Um, you asked that. I will remind me to tell you my favorite feature in Washington. I'm sad that it's my favorite feature, but it is my favorite feature, most useful thing in Washington. So we'll go to the blueprints, but blueprints are really useful. Take a look at them. Again, it guides you through that. What do I want to do? The blueprints get updated all the time as well, so that as we're going through the features, you'll see that this needs update. So even if you've gone through a blueprint and activated everything, once you upgrade to Xanadu, once you upgrade to Yokohama, go look again and see, has anything changed? Have ServiceNow updates all the time and expands and adds more functionality. So to accomplish the same goal, there might be improved tools that aren't just a straight upgrade, but actually new functionality to incorporate into that. So we've looked at the upgrade toolkit. Then we look at the blueprint. The next thing I look at is the app itself. So we started doing this a couple of releases ago, and it's very, very useful. We were talking about blueprints. I went to Xanadu, and I went to go look at my blueprint. And the blueprints said, hey, Adam, there's an update available for this. Now it works fine. This is supported. The version I have is totally fine. But the blueprints app is telling me, hey, go to the app manager because you can get even better blueprints. Awesome. I'm going to go do that. This is common if you work in Workflow Studio. When you go to Workflow Studio, and we're updating that a lot, particularly with new Gen AI features, it'll say, hey, there's an update. So I have 197 features in here. We'll look at some of the ones that are in there. I don't care about some of them. One of them was mobile card builder. On my instance, I don't use mobile. I have other things that I'm focusing in on, so I'm not using mobile. There's an update for mobile. Okay, I'll get it when I go to Yokohama. It's not something I need to go get. It's not something I need to spend any test resources on. But once I upgrade to Xanadu, I'm going to, again, look at the upgrade toolkit about what are the new things I definitely want to get. I'm going to update my Gen AI regardless because that stuff changes all the time. Lots of great stuff happening. Then I'm going to look at my blueprints, and then I'm going to look at the apps that I use in my testing and take a note. Hey, I want to go update blueprints. So let's go update blueprints. Workflow Studio is probably going to have an update. I'll go grab that. If you don't need it, you don't need it, right? You'll get it eventually, but focus on the things that are important to you. All right, with that, I'm going to jump over to the demo. Okay, so I am on my new Xanadu not my new Xanadu instance. This instance is a few years old. It's gone through several different upgrades, and I am going to go to my favorite feature in Washington, still here at Xanadu. When I click on admin, I have lots of great stuff. As an admin, this is actually what I'm going to quite often. I have my admin home, which I'm looking at now, my adoption blueprints, my adoption blueprints, quick to get to straight from the admin menu, the application manager, that's where we're going to spend some time today. And I can also get to subscription management, security center, but the core things I need to get to really quickly are under the admin menu. So we're going to go first to the application manager. And I'm using the new application manager. I have 1,000 store apps. Again, I'm not really looking at browsing 1,000 things. It's too much. But if I look at the upgrade kit, it's going to guide me through the things that I do care about, and I can go grab those. We talked about blueprints. You can also search by blueprint. Like we were looking at a second ago, reduce incidents and keeping services flowing with AI-based automation. These are the related products and plugins and applications that are available here, and I can see what has an update and what doesn't straight on the application manager. I'm going to go to updates. Again, this is the part that if we get anything out of this session, I want you to relax about and to be calm. 197 things. Okay, don't care. I don't need mobile card builder. I'm not using app templates right now, and I'm not using the context app template, so not the biggest important thing to me. Now Assist for CSM, I'm using that. There's an update available. Let's go grab that. So I could go in here and click through here. And this will bring it up. And I can see that I am running 512, but 6.0 is available. And it'll tell me what's in there. All right. There's 197, still a lot to go through. So now let's talk about the a batch installer that you can build. This is custom. I built this out of here, and we'll walk through how to build it. But it was something that was pretty quick to assemble to give me a quick way of installing a lot of things and reviewing a lot of things. So I built a new application. It definitely was a new app, which is store. I put a new module here, available store updates. And I have 3 levels. So one of the things that happens is I have all these updates that come through, and I want to review them. I want to look at what has patches available. My risk preference right now is that in my upgrade to Xanadu, I'm going to take all the patches. All the patches that are available for things that I have installed, I'm going to go ahead and take them. I'm not going to update HR. I'm not going to update CSM. I'm not going to update the big workflows, but if it's a patch, I'll take the patch. So I am going through those 197 available apps, and I have now identified the 35 patches that are available. And the patches are patches, right? Patches, minor releases, and major releases. In my patches, I can see the clone admin console. I am running 1014, 1015 is here. If I want to get some more information about it, I just put a link into the store that will quickly let me see what the updates are available here. So 115, I can see the features and the updates that come through. So I have these. I also have gone through and said, well, my risk tolerance is actually, I'm going to take minor updates. I don't want to change functionality, but I want minor updates. So now I can see minor updates. And I've written in this filter, my preference was that if I'm willing to take the risk profile of a minor update, If the patch is the latest, then give me the patch. The logic that I have here is that if there is a patch and a minor, then I want the minor. And if there's only a patch, then just give me the patch. And so I can see that here. Out of the 197 available apps, I have 168 that have a minor, uh, a minor version available or a patch. And if I come back in here, I'm going to go back to the major updates. So this should actually be everything. Um, and here, I actually have some more updates available to come through, but this is everything with a major, a minor, or a patch level. And if I want to see major, I actually can just filter to major. So these are all of the apps that have major updates available, which is quite a few. Quite a few have major updates available. You'll see a lot of platform things in here that will come through.
Nice. And so the distinguishing thing I think I see here is that as opposed to just that big list of 197, you can tell which ones are major and minor and filter them in this way.
Yeah, and I use some logic in here to say, hey, if there's two patches available, which can happen, it's not super common, but it can happen. Just give me the latest patch. So I am doing a very rough cut. I'm not looking at everyone individually because that's not what I want to do. If there's a patch, give me the latest patch.
And so
So I'm gonna,
this will show plugins, and so by that also like basically store apps, everything except for like major releases of the platform itself.
yeah. So as we go through, so plugins are upgraded when you upgrade to Xanadu, you're upgrading all plugins. You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. Store, you have a choice. And even in the store, you don't have a choice in that way back, right? So effectively, when I go to Xanadu, I'm gonna get at least the version, whatever the current version was in February or May, according to my patch version. Again, there's a doc in the docs, and we'll get the link up that walks you through each piece of that on what would get upgraded and what wouldn't. When there's multiple version, it gets a little confusing. But plugins, a family release is I'm upgrading all 3,000 family plugins,
Right.
all plugins. The store is when you have choice. And we do want to do more in the store to give you more choice. And if you don't want the choice, you'll get it when you upgrade to the next family release, right? But this just lets you get stuff earlier. But it does let you filter out. They're not all equal, right? I don't want to say I want all 197 because some of them have major functionality changes. Some of them require organizational change on what comes through. And a patch probably doesn't. A patch, I'll go with shouldn't. A patch should just fix something that's broken. So I've come in here. Now, this is helpful to me just by itself that I can see I have these patches. Again, 197 went down to 35, much more manageable. And I can look at this and go, okay, I want them all. I'm just going to select this. And for some reason, I don't want to change my process mining. Um, I'm in the middle of implementation. I don't want to update anything. We're going to take that out. Maybe this is CS and my CSM team, my HR team said don't update anything. Just don't touch anything with HR. So I'm going to uncheck, even though it's just a patch, I'm going to uncheck it. And then we're going to do a live demo, so I don't want to install 30 things. We're going to go back. I am just going to update mobile. We're going to update mobile, and we're going to update this component for CMDB and LQ search. These two applications. I'm going to click install updates. This is a UI action I created. It's going to confirm. I like confirmation before I install things. And we're going to do install updates. And what this is doing in the background is going to the batch installer. It created a batch, grouped those into a batch record and said, go install them. And now I'm just installing them using the CI/CD batch installer. So this is going to run in the background. This will take a little bit to run, and I can monitor it. It's not actually important that I confirm. It's not actually important that I monitor it, but I was able to monitor it. So we'll leave this running in the background. It does take a little bit of time to go through, but I don't have anything to do, and I don't have to go back and click and click and click. So whether I'm doing 2 or I'm doing 30, doesn't matter. It'll just work through that batch to install them. All right, so now that I have this, this was the demo. John, is there anything else we needed to hit in the demo? Otherwise, we'll go into the walkthrough. Any questions that we should point out while we're live?
Yeah, one question is does the app manager tell you? It's a good question, actually. We have the luxury of being entitled to every application. Does the app manager tell you what you can install, but also whether or not you're licensed for it?
Yeah. So if I come in, yeah, on this instance, I'm licensed for everything. It's
Sure.
nice. So let's take a look real quick on the available to me. So I believe if it's a partner app, you have to purchase it. You have to acquire it in the store. And for certain things that require new T's and C's, you need to go in the store. But things I'm not entitled to, let's look for workforce optimization. It should tell me. So this is a paid app. And it's telling me it's included in my license. Everything I need is included in my license. So it will tell you you're entitled or not. We saw it in, I saw it in the blueprints. Let me go back to the adoption blueprint and the one for AI. It's the same card that's shown in the blueprint as showed here. And in the blueprint, you'll see it's included in license or not entitled once this finishes loading.
Thank you. Thank you. And a reminder, everybody, if you have questions, please hit the Q&A button and we'll either answer them immediately or I'll be sure that we get Adam to answer those before the session's over. Thank you.
Okay, so we come in to reduce, see the details here. Okay, so here we see included with subscription. I believe this will be gray and say that you're not entitled to it. So it is clear and it won't let you in a subprod. In a production, it'll show you that. In a subprod, I think it will show you not included, but it will still let you install it generally. It just warn you. Okay, so we looked at that. I'm going to jump over to the walkthrough. We'll go back to the slides and walk through how did I build this. Oh, and sorry, as we checked in here, this is actually done installing, or it's pretty close. It's just wrapping up the last parts of this.
And so if you install something and there's a dependency, will it pick up those dependencies automatically, much like the App Manager does?
Yes. So when I go to install it, if it has to install the other stuff, it should install everything else with it.
Great.
The dependencies are done that if you want A and you need B and C, it will install B and C. You should not be able to get to a state where you've installed something that doesn't work.
Excellent.
Yeah. Although in the confirmation screen I have, it's not traversing those. It's just saying you want to install these. It doesn't blow everything out, although that's certainly doable to do. Okay, and I wanted to pull up one thing as we come through into Workflow Studio. And in Workflow Studio, again, I get an update that there's a new version. This works. This is totally supported. But if I want the latest and greatest Workflow Studio, then I can go to the App Manager and install the Workflow Studio, or we can do it in the batch installer like we just saw. And what I wanted to see in here was my flows. And we're going to look at the execution. So we're going to walk through the walkthrough, but I'm just going to show you one piece in here before then. And operations, flows. This would have been a better way of going. So batch install updates. We're going to take a look at the flow, but I will show this first. So in the batch install, what we're ending up creating is this batch. This is the secret sauce to all of this. We're using out of the box Spoke for the CI/CD batch installation. And what we are ending up creating is something that just says, I want to install this app version. That's it. Actually, this sysid, install it. And the request in which version of that you want. I want 21.24. I want 2.3.2. These were the two that I selected. And then this will go install it. So now we're going to jump over to some slides and we'll walk through a little bit more about how this was built, what the different components were. So we're going to go back to here. Is my slide showing again?
Batch installer demo is what we're seeing.
Perfect. Okay, good. All right, so let's get into the walkthrough about what we're doing. So I did build a new app. So I created a new scope that had this in there. Nothing we're doing requires to be in global, so we can be very self-contained in this standalone scope. A few different records you see on the side there. This is all driven off of two main tables. So the first table is sysapp version. Sysapp version includes everything that your instance can see, all the available versions. And we don't see it in this screenshot, but one of the things that will be here is that there are multiple versions of the same app. There will be multiple versions of the same app, whether there's two patches and a minor release or a patch, a minor release, and a major. It's all the different versions that are available. And you see this in the version column. These are available to me. Once I've installed this version, it will remove the other ones. When you're getting this list, when you press the sync button, when you're in the app manager and you press sync, it is updating this table. All the available versions of things that you can get. Once you upgrade, when you upgrade to Xanadu, you want to go press the sync version, so it goes and grabs all the latest available updates. When the store release comes out, we have store updates once a month. There's a job that updates this once a day, so it's not something you have to do. But if you really want the latest and greatest thing on your, you go to your subprod, press sync to go grab it. If something's missing, go press sync. It updates this table. All the available versions that are there. The next key table that we're looking at is SysStore app. SysStore app contains all of the apps that I have installed, all the store apps that I have installed on my instance. On these two tables, the first one had a couple thousand versions available for me, which reduced down to 100. No, the store apps were a little over 1,000, but there were a few thousand different versions that were available. SysStore app is things I have installed, and then the version that is currently installed on my instance. So we saw when we looked at the patches table, we said you have version A and version B is available. It's joining these two tables. That gives me that. Now I say join. There's a little bit more to it than just a straight database view. You could do a database view, but instead I took the approach of creating a remote table. So a remote table is a table. It does not count as a custom table, but as a table you define your fields, but you define a script that populates that. So this can be done. It's generally the reason it's called a remote table. It's generally done for integrations, but it can be pulling data in locally as well. So I'm not querying anything else. I'm not doing anything special, but I have a script in the background that goes through and looks at all my SysStore app records. So all the apps that I have available, and then it queries sysapp version to give me the latest major release, the latest minor release, and the latest version. I flatten them down. So if there are two minor versions that are available, I'm only getting the latest one. If there's two patches, I'm only getting the latest one. That is not always correct if there's a V1 minor release and a V2 minor release. I'm only going to show the V2, which is actually at that point a major release. So no, sorry, it's only going to pick the minor release that's available that's your difference. It's calculating the delta, right? So it's looking at the dots, the three dots, or the two dots and the three components to figure out what's a major, minor, and patch release. But if there are two patches, you're going to go to the latest patch for the version you have installed, not you're going to skip the in-between one. If you really need to be very surgical, like support says, hey, you want version 1.3, but not 1.4 for what you're doing, then you'd still use the app manager. But again, this gives me a great way of just going, hey, just give me all the patches. Let's get the minor releases. Let's get the stuff updated. We're going to go to Xanadu. We're going to be at all the latest minor releases, and then major releases are as needed. I want to be a sponsor for them. So the remote table lets me build that. And this is like a 60-line script, 70-line script, too much that I couldn't put in PowerPoint, but I wanted to let you know that the remote table is where all the magic happens in this to calculate that major, minor patch release. Okay, this is what it looks like. We looked at this. We looked exactly at this in the demo where we said I wanted all the minor releases. And in this case, we're just seeing all the different versions that come through. Anything interesting in this one? No, this is just showing my major and minor releases. This is the result of that remote table. Remote tables look like tables. They smell like tables. They feel like tables. You just can't update them because they're all just reading data. But I can now operate this and create any dashboards, any reports, any filtering that I'd want to do. This is what was key for me because in my preference, I wanted to say, hey, search for the HR ones. So I can say, give me all the plugins that have HR. I can do some other filtering as well. All right, then how do we make some of this stuff work? So I used a couple UI actions. I did this all in Core UI. I will say that if I had a little bit more time, I would go build this in a workspace, and I'd create all the new components. I have been around for a while, so I just knew it the way I did it the way that I knew how to do it. So I created a UI action, and the UI action was called install updates. You saw me press the button at the top. That just iterated over the boxes that I had checked. I iterated over the boxes I had checked, and I sent them to a custom UI page. And that custom UI page took that list of sysids that were selected and showed them to me. I like confirmation. This is a step that's not required, but is really nice. and it just before it automatically installed them or queued or fired off the installation, it says, "Hey, you sure you want to install all of these?" This would be a phase that I could update some more. I could add a little bit more to make sure I'm really doing it. We had the question about the dependencies. This could blow out the dependencies and let me know what's going on. It could do any more sanity checking, right? You asked to do this. What's my process to make sure these things are right? These are the things that you want to do. Okay, so I have all that. This is just a confirmation screen. There's no real logic here. And then once I said, yes, I want to do it, then it took me to a page, that monitoring page, that it fired off the flow, which we'll see in a second, and then it started monitoring the batch installation process. So the batch installation process queues an installation that list to go, and then this is just monitoring the worker process, the progress worker, to show me when is it done. You don't need to do this either, but it's nice because that way I will know when it is done or when it thinks it's done without having to go look at any more tables. And then from here, here's where the magic happens. All that other stuff is just UI. It's just experience on what you want to have a couple queries. This is the part I want to make sure that we all are aware about, because this is how you automate stuff. And that is using that step number 3, the batch installer. The batch installer is part of the CI/CD spoke. And see if we get in here. What I did in step 2, let's blow that out just a little bit. I created that XML package, JSON package. It's JSON. We saw it in the demo. We can pull it up again if we want to really quickly, but all it is doing is putting in a defined format to say this app version, or sorry, this store app or app version. This is the version I want. I put a note in there so I could see it if I do go look in a log, but you're just saying, here's what I want to install. Very, very simple format. I build it here on the fly, given a list of sysids. And then once I have that, here's the script. There's the script I used to build it. That built that final JSON package, but it just said, hey, it's an application. I believe this supports plugins as well, but you wouldn't upgrade a plugin because those are all updated. It could activate it. I think you can activate plugins this way. But I'm doing upgrades, so only applications made sense for this upgrade process that I'm doing. It just creates a JSON package envelope, and then I send that to the batch installer. And the batch installer, I have a manifest. That was the word I was looking for. I have my manifest. I give the batch installer a manifest, the batch plan. I have some credentials. You do need to have a user on here that has one very specific set of permissions. It doesn't have to be able to log in. It doesn't log in interactively. It is, I believe, web service only. It doesn't, I don't think it even needs to have admin. It just has to have permission to queue batch plugins or batch apps. What this also means is this actually works if you're going to do it remotely. If you created these users and you had your credentials, you could actually have one system install it on another instance with the right credentials. It doesn't have to be local. I'm doing local. And then you tell it what instance you want to work on. That was the instance I was working on. It's the one we were showing the demo on. Batch installer is out of the box. Again, if you get through this presentation, 1, don't have any anxiety about having lots of updates to do. And then number 2, the batch installer is there to help you. The CI/CD spoke to configure that. It's in the documentation. There are plenty of other videos that walk you through how to configure that exactly which role you need, what permissions it has. And again, I think it says in here, this is available from Orlando and onward. So in the demo that I built, I'm using some jelly. So that's existed since the dawn of time for us. And the spoke, this is the key secret. This is the special ingredient, is the batch installer that's available from Orlando on. So everybody has access to build what we're building. There's nothing new in this. All right. With that, let's see if we can answer a few more questions while we have some time, and then we'll go over a couple wrap-up resources.
Eric's got a question about opt-in. So his example was, I just installed GRC Workspace yesterday and had to opt into SNDoc before I could do the install. So does your tool doesn't have any sort of UI, so do you know what happens in those cases?
Yeah, great question. I believe it may not show up until you've opted in. So opting in is where you're agreeing to the T's and C's. In the use case we have, I guess there is a situation here that you run into a problem where you have a dependency you have to opt into, a new dependency. So once you've opted in for an app, you don't have to opt in again, with, again, very, very rare situations where that's not the case. So if I'm doing an update, it should not be a problem. actually, as you point that out, it could be a problem because there is a new dependency that you have to opt into. And I have to test what that does actually. I don't know if it will fail or it will do it to come through. Generally, this will be fine for updates, and it won't show you the head. I think it actually just won't show it to you anymore if there's a dependency that's not there. That's what's supposed to happen because you have to go to the store to opt in first, then you
Right.
can activate it. So that does
Once
happen
you're
for
opt in,
things.
and then you can upgrade it.
Yeah, and the opt-in again, you're agreeing to the T's and C's that come through. You don't have to do that for the vast majority of things if you wait to the release. If you wait till the family release where it gets trued up that we talked about before this. So again, all that noise goes away. The opt-in and the T's and C's have to do when you're trying to get something earlier than the family release.
Excellent. So everyone, I'm going to launch a little short poll. I'm going to start that now. If you can answer these questions at your leisure. I have another question from Richard. I guess he's asking about the true up. So since you have a lot of releases, since you have a lot of store releases, what's the sort of cutoff? How do I know what stuff came in the true up and what stuff, didn't
Yeah.
make the true up?
So that is an area that we are trying to increase visibility into because it's not clear. Not always clear to us which patch releases get trued up and which ones don't, and which patch gets patched into it. Um, uh, so generally the cutoff for let's see, Xanadu will be released in September. The cutoff is around May. But then once you get to like Xanadu patch 2, then we might take some of those patches to come through. It's incredibly hard to see. If you have a question, you actually have to ask your account team right now. They can see it. It's possible for us to see what we've put in there. But as you bring that up, that is a point we're trying to improve because you don't if you don't need to upgrade it because you're going to get it. If I'm going to upgrade to Xanadu, I'm going to get that patch, then that's fine. Um, as we go through the patches for the store releases, you can always do them early, right? If it's compatible, the only things you see right now are things that are compatible for you. And we actually want to expand that to give you some visibility into when I go to Xanadu, I'll see this new version. But before then, if you upgrade before, it's just going to make your family upgrade faster. So generally, I would actually want to do this upgrade before. It's a little bit more work in theory. I mean, it depends on your preference on what you want to have. You're in control. But if I were doing this, I would want to do an upgrade to my prod instance. If I'm going to Xanadu, and let's say I'm going to Xanadu in October. Well, in September, I want to update my store patches. I'm going to go through them because it's going to be all these minor releases that come through, which is going to, when I do my Xanadu update, it's going to minimize the changes for Xanadu. And then I'll come back later and then do the store releases later to come through. So I want to sprinkle out my upgrades, especially if it's just patches, to kind of do the store ones that are available before I upgrade, get that stabilized, everything's good. Then I'll do my family release, which will have some major updates in there, right? Because it's doing all the plugins. But it won't have any store updates for me because I will have already done them. I'll actually already be more current than what's available in there. I'm not getting dragged. I'm able to do it on my terms. And then I'll go in to upgrade in October. And then when I get to November, December, I'll do patches again so that I'm always ahead of what's going to come in the family release to minimize. I'm going to do more frequent, smaller upgrades. Now, if you want to do just big bang, I'm going to upgrade once a year. Well, then you can do that too, right? Like we put all our testing resources in at one time and we handle all these changes. That's fine too. I don't prefer that because there's so much more release note stuff that goes through. I like frequent small ones, but you can also do infrequent big ones, and it'll be up to you.
Nice. So, anonymous attendee um, asked if there was any risk getting support if something went wrong.
There should not be any issue with that, and tell them I sent you. We're using the batch installer, right? We're using a supported process for this, so we got to fix it. This is our problem. If you are going in and doing some wacky stuff in the background in the tables, then we're still going to support you, but it's hard to support, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whose problem it is. You're using our stuff. We want to make sure that you're happy and things are working. If you're not working, we have a problem. Um, but we're using the batch installer. So again, we did some UI stuff and figured out what I want to install. But at the end of the day, that batch installer, I gave it a valid manifest. And if I didn't, it's going to reject it saying it's an invalid manifest. Like tells me that a lot when I was starting out with this. But manifest, I installed it. So I used a supported spoke. I did it to do something. it's got to work, right? Or handle it gracefully and let me know what's going on. Now, I didn't do a lot of error catching. I didn't validate my manifest. So I might get an error somewhere. My flow, we pulled it up before in the execution. The UI I have doesn't surface a flow error. And maybe it could, right? Or check it or validate it or any of those things. There's APIs in there to check the process, the process of what's going on. I had that progress worker where it's showing me what's going on, and if there's an error, it'll say there's an error, and then I'll have to go dig in the logs. I'm okay with that for where I was at, but there are some more APIs to check that. Particularly if I was doing it remotely, then I would use these other APIs in the flow to do some more work. So what we wanted to get through here is that you can if you use that batch installer, there's a lot you can do to fit your process, whether you want approvals in there, whether you want to check what's going on. I did a pretty rough cut of I just want to select all these patches and go through. It is what I've been using on my local instances to just say upgrade all my patches. Because I want to be more current. I want to be as current of whatever's released. I'm on a sub prod, to come through, but you're able to go through the stuff and look at it.
So Pravat asks whether or not we'll be providing like an update set or XML for this. How he can do this himself.
So yeah, we are going to figure out how to do that. Whether we have a blog post out there with some of the example codes of the UI pages and things like that, and some screenshots of the flow, or if we get it in Git, we will figure out something to give you an example to build from. The actual code that I walk through is not supported. The UI pages, they're just examples of things to give you some inspiration. But the key part in there is once you're calling the batch installer spoke, that is supported, right? That's the magic in here. That's the hard part. That stuff is definitely supported, but just the general UI pages, we can provide some examples.
And we'll check out, keep an eye on the Platform Fundamentals Academy page. It's probably the page you use to get to register for this event. And we will be posting up the video for this next week, as well as any assets to support you in implementing this yourself.
Yep. And now the other question I have for you to come through, I don't like it at all when I have to go, here's some examples of stuff you might want to do. We want to make this process better from the app manager perspective. And so if you want to drop it in the chat, or if you're interested in having a follow-up with us, we'd love to talk to you about what experience are you looking for? What is it that you want? Our team is working on a lot of stuff in there, but we just love to hear from you, right? You came here, you dedicated an hour to listening to us live and asking your questions, and which we really appreciate. And if you want to put into the chat, what is it you'd expect? What do you like? Is this good or is this bad? Is it a good direction to help you? Are there other things you'd like to see with the app manager? We talked about more clarity, I think, in am I entitled to this or not? So I heard some people running some hesitation about some better error catching, the store process about the opt-in. We'd love to hear from you. Again, either in the chat, we will make sure all these comments get back to our development teams. Or if you'd like to follow up some more and you would like to talk to us live, let us know in the chat. Just drop and go, hey, I'd like to talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about, and then we will be going through that to follow up with you. With that, do we have any other questions? I think I stalled.
Hey, Pravat, would you like to speak?
Yeah, yeah. Hi everyone. Good morning. Prabhat from Thrive Networks. Thank you so much for the presentation. First of all, this is really helpful. Why I asked for the XML is like we really love to build custom things, but if it was offered out of the box, then why, do the hard work? But we can definitely tweak what you have built, and as I shared the example for AES, there's a sequential requirement, and entitling new products offered under the family plugin. So if we can work together, maybe we can build it better in near future. First, we need to get where what you showed right now. It's really, really painful. Like from last 3 months, we're just trying to get ahead on our plugin list, and there are thousands of them, and we almost need all of them. I just got to know from ServiceNow that all core plugins will be upgraded with the family version, but not all. So I just throw out that example, and yeah, is there a way if you're working on a product to get involved and help it groom better? And if you can get the XML, as I said, then yeah, we can definitely tweak it, make it custom as per the requirement I just said, and hear back the XML and the community. So that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, and I'll say, I mean, with that, the gotchas that could get in here is the manifest in which you come through. It's generally pretty good about if you need a dependency to go grab it, to come through. The sequential stuff is interesting. I can believe that
Sequential
exists.
stuff and the entitling the new products. So
The entitling new
we
products is,
upgrade. Yeah, so we just upgraded from one family version to the Washington DC. We upgrade every family version. So with this version, we got new 10 or 12 more plugins under the same plugin family. The
yes,
expectation is they'll be entitled automatically to all the instances, right? But they were not, they weren't entitled at all. So we have to go to the store, do the entitlement, select the instances,
yes,
and then go back to the store, then check the dependency, whether the instance is entitled or not. So I was just thinking if we can automate all of that into the app you have built, that'll be great. And yeah, sequencing.
yeah,
I was just
Thank
thinking
you.
if you
Thank you. Excuse me.
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I said I was just want to say thank you for your feedback. Appreciate it.
yeah.
Okay.
They're definitely, and this and this quick dirty version isn't there, right? The real challenge for this is how do we make all of that graceful, right?
Yeah.
To come through. So there's certainly there is a I can get what I want pretty quickly. This is what we wanted to talk about today. While we're working on it, there's a lot of in the background to make sure everything, all the edge cases work really smoothly. That's why this isn't in the product today. But it's great. Yeah, again, we'll follow up on what you are looking for, what your ideal state is, so we can figure out how to make sure we're covering that the best way.
I appreciate that. Yeah. If there's any pack group or any, you have a first level customer you work with to groom a product, then yeah, please pitch us in and we'll be happy to contribute. It's going to help entire community, all ServiceNow
Yeah,
customers, I guess.
great. Thank you.
So thank you, everybody, and thank you, Adam. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.